Good afternoon, everybody. All right, let's jump right into the disclosure here. I'm an associated member of T3 Trading Group, which is an SEC registered broker dealer and member of FINRA SIPC. All trades placed by me are placed through T3 Trading Group, and you should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your own financial condition. The position disclosure is the same. I'm keeping a little bit of Apple into the report. I did close out of Amazon into the report, though, which I guess is unfortunate because it's crushing it. Absolutely crushing it. Amazon in the house. Just down a little bit. Yeah, absolutely crushing it. Up 12%. Numbers look solid. Meanwhile, Roku, death. God, anything Kathy touches, right? 24% here. Woo! Man, and this earnings season has been, Intel too, this earnings season has been so forgiving to companies on not great earnings reports. You got to be real bad to be down this this type of a percentage point here after hours. Just absolutely destroyed. It's going to make for an interesting day tomorrow. Or growth stock's going to be weak because of Roku. Is tech going to be strong because of Amazon? I don't know. We got Apple here in about 15, 17 minutes or so. I usually don't do an afternoon meeting on Apple Day. People who have been around the team know that. Apple is one that I very regularly, very typically trade after hours. Not always, but very typically trade it. I am broadcasting live onto YouTube here, so I'm not going to be allowed to communicate any buying or selling that I do, or even talk about if I'm trading it at all. But I am holding a little bit of a position into Apple, but I'm doing pretty well with that position. I think my price is like 137 or so. Ooh, look at this. Actually, I'm going to sell a little bit right here. Oh, wait, I'm not allowed to say that. Wow. What a day. All right. So again, on Apple Day, I usually don't really do an afternoon meeting. So I'll do what I've kind of done the last handful of quarters, is just like a quick abbreviated meeting, quick update on the market. No Q&A today. And then we'll see what happens at 4:30. Such a big report. Yeah, so we got fantastic follow through today, and we got the follow through exactly kind of as we were looking for it. So market gave great continuation. In the morning meeting today, I compared today's open to the opens that we had, or to the trading session that we had on July 20th and July 21st. We had very similar dynamics coming into today's trading session as we did both of those trading sessions. July 20th was a day 2. July 21st was a day 3 that ended up kind of topping out at $400 on day 4. This was a day 2. And similar to both of those days, we had a flat open today. Similar to both of those days, our short-term tactical sentiment indicator was overcooked. But we weren't really that extended at the open based on the way that I view extension. And yesterday was only a day 1. So absolutely you can go higher, but the price action, it's so interesting how this works. The price action was like the exact same as it was on these other 2 trading days, where, yeah, we can go higher. I was looking for us to go higher. That was my expectation. But be careful off the open when you got that short-term tactical sentiment indicator kind of in that red zone. Because what we saw on both of these other trading days, where we had like the exact same open, flat open, market slightly extended but not so extended that it can't continue, but short-term tacticals in the red zone, is that the market kind of takes a pause, a little bit of price or time correction in the beginning of the day. That helps satisfy that short-term tactical sentiment indicator. Then the market finds its footing and turns into like an upside grind. It was the exact same thing today. We opened up pretty flat on the day. IWM pre-market was showing a little relative strength. Qs were showing a little bit of relative weakness because of Facebook. We rolled down here pretty hard The key spots we were paying attention to was where the GDP number came out, which was about $400, which we did lose. I didn't think that number was tremendously important. The much more important number was where we started on the Fed day yesterday, which is this, like 396 quarter, 396 half, like that kind of area. And we did show some opening weakness, but we never really got fully down there. The thing that had me most concerned, the thing that really had me actually concerned for a minute this morning, was that the weakness was led by the IWM. The IWM was relatively strong pre-market, relatively strong for like 7 minutes this morning. Then they whacked it all the way down. And then when the SPYs were just going sideways here and the Qs were just going sideways here, the IWM was continuing to be weak and continuing to pull back. That certainly made me a little bit nervous. But then, all's well that ends well. We pivoted, we rotated up. I mean, this turned out to be like an intraday V bottom. SPYs and Qs kind of broke back above. Once the SPYs got back above $400 here with this inside 5 and up back to $400, it was on. So similar to those other two trading sessions, we took an hour and a half here of like price and time correction, and then we broke opening highs and kind of just turned into an upside grind and gave continuation. If the market were to have a flat open tomorrow, it would be once again the exact same thing as we had on like this day on July 21st. We're a bit more extended. I'm sure that short-term tactical is going to be in the red tomorrow morning again. But we could potentially see a day 3. We've been chatting about this market gravitating towards this 410, which is just such a massive level for the S&P, and we'll see if that happens or not. As far as trading goes today, it was an interesting day because we had some good-looking trades off the open that failed, and then we had some trades that weren't necessarily on the radar that kind of worked out pretty well. Off the open, looking at General Motors ended up closing well, but the market caused this to fail. As a secondary to Ford was kind of the idea. Looking at GM through like $35.20 off the open here, it's breaking through $35.20. Gives an okay little pop. Should be enough for anybody who took this trade to get their risk covered. Then unfortunately fails. What was the other one? It's escaping my brain. There's a second one off the open that basically did the exact same thing. I know a bunch of us were looking at, and it's escaping me which name it was, but it was a similar situation. Broke through early. I think was good enough of a trade to get the risk covered, and then kind of came down and failed. So those ones ended up not working out as the market itself was tricky off the open. The trades that were the trade of the day, I guess, was one, if anybody did take that meta call out the low. Again, I don't call bottoms, so I didn't say, guys, this is the bottom, everybody buy it. I'm looking for spots where I feel there's a higher probability of a retracement coming in. The stock had gotten really extended here. The volume was picking up. You can't even see it as how the candle actually closed because this isn't closing with a hammer. But I kind of called out a cheat, like the candle wasn't closed yet. It was on its way up. During it was the 4th candle down. You've got a ton of extension volume coming in here. I called out a buy at, and I called it out as 155.50, so 65 cents worth of risk versus that low. Basically looking for a snapback to the ADMA. I had said at the time, as the purchase was coming in, target number 1, $158. That target 1, you probably have to pull back on that a little bit because it ended up kind of time correcting a little bit more. Good balance, get your risk covered. We know the game plan for these kind of trend trades. But instead of getting that move all the way to 158, it kind of topped out, I think, at 157.20 or 157.30. So ADMA is catching up. So you might have had to reduce that offer a little bit, take a little bit more profit there. But then the market started acting better. This thing broke up through the intraday resistance around 157 that it was creating. Gave you the move to target number 2. And then you keep a little bit. I'm just sorry, I just got distracted by what Josh just wrote. Kathy Wood of ARK has 10.1 million shares of Roku at an average price of $243.88. $243.88? Where's my daily chart? This is Meta. Where's Roku? Bruh! Don't frown, average down. Oh my god, it's so bad. Woo! Oh man, I got distracted. Yeah, so that's the Facebook trade. Ended up working out really well, closing really well. The other one that I called out without a tremendous amount of conviction, but it turned out to be a nice trade was Snap off the low. I don't remember what I saw here. This thing just kind of woke up. It had been trading really, you know, gave a once again a great opening drive here, 100% fails, and then this thing just kind of woke up. And I remember calling out loud to the VTF. I was like, I'm almost afraid to say it. I think you could buy Snap versus lows, even though you're buying into the ADMA, which I don't normally like. Um, and it sounds like a few of us, took the trade. I would not characterize it as an A-plus trade. Risk on it was pretty small, 6-7 cents worth of risk. But this immediate follow-through on it was nice. And then once again, failing up in that $10 area and not giving a great close, especially compared to the market. So not fantastic by any means. And the longer this thing holds down here, the more bearish this becomes. You got to remember that. The initial trade here was looking for this balance to see if you can just get an oversold snapback on the thought process that this was kind of overdone, gapping down 40% after it already warned on numbers that I didn't think were the end of the world, though it's an expensive stock to begin with, so it's got to post some pretty good numbers. The market has been so far very generous for the most part with a lot of these earnings reports type companies. But the longer this thing sits down here, it's starting to bear flag. This ADMA is catching up. It is certainly not looking good. So if this thing is going to go, if it's going to break through that 1010, if it's going to give that move that I keep kind of looking for into the 1075, maybe $11 range, it better get going, because the longer it sits down here, the more difficult that's going to become, and there's just going to be more forces and more pressure that begin kind of weighing on it as it becomes no longer extended on the daily chart. So just a whatever trade, I guess. It sounds like a couple of us are swinging this one also, just because the initial call out there and the price was so good. And I think that's pretty much it worth talking about on the day. I don't remember what that other opening drive was. I'm still blown by this Roku. So bad. But honestly, makes it cheaper for somebody to come and buy it at this point. I would think that somebody's got to be interested in Roku as a buyout at these prices. I didn't look at the details of the earnings report here. I was a hater on Roku forever, Felipe. You know that. You remember one of the worst losses in my career is Roku short, when it was having one of its runs like back in here. This run back in here in 2019. I was like, oh, this is such a BS company. Like, any company can just create this technology. Like there's no barrier to entry. Like, Amazon should be doing this, Google should be doing this, Samsung should be doing this, and they all kind of are. But all their operating systems, and it blows my mind because it's 3 years later after I was making that thesis. All the other operating systems, I think, for television suck compared to Roku. And the Roku one is just so much easier and more convenient to be able to use, and then they're building it into the TVs. And when I was shopping for the house out in Idaho there, and building out the couple TV rooms we have, I ended up going to TVs that had Roku operating systems, and they're getting into their original content, which honestly the original content business is potentially another reason it's shorted at this point, based on what we're seeing from all these companies, like how much money Disney is just bleeding. I think that Disney, honestly, I know that when Disney first came out with that Disney Plus during COVID, everybody was heralding it as this genius move, and it helped the stock get a lot of appreciation here, even as their theme parks and everything were shut down. And now I honestly think Disney would be trading at a higher price if it didn't have Disney Plus. If you just look at the numbers and just the amount of money, Disney, I don't think, is like Amazon or Apple that has unlimited amounts of cash and just can continue to just take losses forever at huge amounts and just not care because they're trying to build out market share. I don't think Disney can do that forever, and the amount of money that Disney is losing on Disney Plus is really actually kind of mind blowing. So when you turn around and you look at a Roku, like, okay, they're trying to get into original content. I don't know, but their operating system really is the best. So it could be, and the other thing I was saying years ago was, that this would be a good buyout opportunity, I thought, for Netflix, because then Netflix could kind of own the rails, if you will. They can make Netflix the first icon that pops up and the number one operating system for televisions It seems like there'd be good symmetries there, but obviously none of that's happened. So yeah, 30% here, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely smoked. And I think that's it for this wrap up. So we got 3 minutes to kill here till Apple comes out. To me, today just seemed like a day where there was still not a ton of participation in this rally, though, and that's the one thing I didn't love about today's trading session. It seemed like Microsoft was the number one name here, and we did talk about a Microsoft long through 269, 270 in the morning meeting. That was one of my ideas for my spreadsheet. I just wanted this to go tomorrow. I wanted a rest day to rest after yesterday's action. Kind of Google gave a rest day, more or less. It's up here a little bit, probably up a little bit after hours with Amazon too. But Google was basically resting all day. That's what I wanted Microsoft to do, to give us the setup for 269, 270 tomorrow. But it didn't wait. Just blasted through that sick breakout. Shane had brought to my attention through one of his links this morning that every single one of these FANG names is still within consolidations, which is technically big picture bearish, unless of course it breaks to the upside. With the exception of Apple. And now, after today, also with the exception of Microsoft. Microsoft broke up. Amazon is now breaking up also. So these FANG names are really starting to break up out of these long consolidations that they've been in. Microsoft broke it. Google's still within it. Facebook is still within it. Is Meta trading higher after hours? Not really. And it's a decent looking tail off that 155 area. And by the way, that was part of the trade in Facebook. It was 155 is the lower band. We talked about a wide ranging support band in Facebook in the morning meeting today, like 159 all the way down to 155, and 159 area was like the pre-market low. They just blasted right through that 159 right away, and then it was all the way at the lower band of of support, 155 that ended up actually holding. But yes, as far as like breadth today, it really seemed like consumer staples were leading again. I don't love that. Utilities were leading again today, which I also don't love. The XBI that I'm in was super weak. Energy was really not too great. I know we were looking at this morning. Financials were honestly not too great. Looks like they turned around and closed on highs, but financials were not great this morning. Kind of rolled all the way back down. Growth stocks weren't great this morning. Most of the FANG names were not participating this morning, and it really seemed like it was Microsoft, Staples, Utilities. All right. We got Apple about to hit here. Oh boy. $15. Up. Oh my god, my light speed just froze again. All right, I gotta shut down.